Okay, so Einstein didn't actually say this, but it's often attributed to him. Quote, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. Still legit, even though Einstein didn't really say that. But here is the tea. There's a sneaky, dark side to compounding that's low-key eating up half your retirement stash. Let me say that again. A low-key, sneaky dark side to compounding that's eating up half of your retirement stash. Warning, we're going to show some real math today that scared even us when we were doing the math. Viewer discretion of this episode is advised.
In a world where chaos seems to reign supreme, where uncertainty lurks around every corner, and financial markets are now more unpredictable than ever, there's one place you can turn to find clarity and control. Welcome to the Wealth Wisdom Financial Podcast.
Hey, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Amanda.
Join us as we dive deep in the world of personal and business finance
to assist you in navigating through the chaos and building the financial future you deserve.
We believe when conventional financial thinking doesn't get you where you want to go,
you need wealth wisdom.
So if you're ready to take control of your financial destiny,
tune in to the Wealth Wisdom Financial Podcast.
Because in a chaotic world, your money shouldn't be.
Subscribe now and never miss an episode.
Okay, so what we want to do today is help you dodge the fee apocalypse. Yeah, there is a fee apocalypse. I know we think that there's all kinds of other kind of apocalypses like zombies and I don't know what else. Who knows? We watch a lot of sci-fi shows, but really there is a really big apocalypse. That's that fee one that is going to impact your retirement or your present for that matter. So here's the 411. Is that what they say? 411. Your 401k or IRA is probably charging you 1 to 2% in fees each year. Well, that may sound small, or you might say, that's not me. I'm better than the other guy. Definitely, it's not me. I've heard that so many times, and then I run the math, and I'm like, actually, you are. Just 1% per year can shrink your savings by a whopping 28%. 28 over 35 years. Let's that sink in. 1% can move your retirement
down by 28% over 35 years. We'll put a link in the show notes to where that math comes from, and we're going to show you some math soon. Before we get there, though, before we get too far into this episode, we got to alert you. A lot of people think they're not paying fees when they really are. And we want to show you 5 places that you can look to confirm what fees you're paying and to whom and what all they are. Because people tell us all the time that they aren't charged fees. And the problem is that financial firms like to hide them. Yep. They're not very easy to find. So I want to empower you, if nothing else, with 5 places to find those fees so you can know the truth about how much you're actually paying.
Well, and again, I see them all the time and I hear people saying, oh yeah, but that's not me, I'm above it. And then I see the reports or multiple pages of different things to find out they are. But they thought, well, I'm above it.
Or their fees are lower or whatever. So here's the places. Number 1, there's a fee disclosure statement. So for 401ks, employers are required to provide an annual fee disclosure statement. So every year you get that statement. Probably don't even look at it. Just throw it in the recycling bin, hopefully. But look at it.
Hopefully,
not in the trash is what I mean. Yeah. If you have an IRA, you can check the account agreement or prospectus provided by the financial institution where the IRA is. Similar with a brokerage, right? They have these disclosures, many pages of long text, but the fees will be disclosed within those. That's number 1 place.
Yeah. Now, can I ask you a question? So we say we get them in the mail. are they now still sending them or putting them on our report and it's e-delivery or online? Can you?
Right. So that's why I said it could be in an account agreement or prospectus that's provided by the financial institution, which means it could be online. There's actually been some some institutions caught recently charging for paper statements, paper delivery of things when they never mailed paper out. So that's a fee to be on the lookout for. Yeah.
So they charged you to send them,
Yeah.
send a report, but they didn't send a report.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
or something.
Okay. So that's the
Good.
first place. Fee disclosure statement. Look for that. Second place is in your account statements. Particularly, you want to look for line items labeled as fees, expenses, or charges. Be sure to check all your quarterly statements, but especially the December 31 statement. We call it the 12/31 statement for fun. It's just the one you get at the end of the year. That's usually when they tack on the fees. It's when a lot of people are not actually reviewing their statements probably because they're in festive moods, they're getting ready for the new year. But look at that and you will probably see the fees there, but be sure to check all the quarterly statements and look through all the line items on that statement, multiple pages long, for anything that says fee, charge, or expense. Okay, that's number two.
Yep.
Number three is if you have any kind of funds, mutual funds, ETFs, index funds, you're going to want to look up those funds and look for what their expense ratio is. That's what the fund is charging you, not necessarily the institution or the custodian that you're with. These can usually be found on the fund provider's website, or there's some cool financial websites that help you. Our favorite is one provided by FINRA. It's a FINRA fund analyzer. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. You can look up the fund you have, particularly if you have a target date fund in that retirement account. Those often charge the largest fees, so be on the lookout there.
Can I ask one thing that they always say is just set it and forget it. Don't worry about it. Just keep putting money in, and like in 35 years it's going to be amazing. But to not even look at it. So what do you say to those people who are told don't look at your statements, don't even think about that stuff, because it's just it's a great investment for the future.
Yeah, I'd be curious when the last time your fees changed. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Right? Like if you think, oh, I wasn't paying fees before, maybe you are now. Or even if you're not paying some now or your fees are low now, they can change. Just like my savings account, my APR, maybe APY on my savings account changes, they don't alert me. They just change it, right?
Yeah.
I gotta check in on it. Awareness is super important. Not saying you should make emotional decisions. That's a different thing. That's a different type of thing. We're actually going to come back and talk about that in a couple episodes from now, because I've been learning a lot about psychology and of money and some really interesting things. Anyway, side tangent. That dealing with the psychology of when you see a loss and what you do with it, that's what they're trying to avoid by telling you not to look. We're talking about fees, right? This is something that might make you a little angry. You can decide how you're going to deal with the anger, but awareness is super important with fees in particular.
Yep.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we pointed that out.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Number 4 is if you do have an online portal, you check your account's online portal. Many providers offer detailed fee breakdowns in their online interfaces. Not all, but some do. So you might find it there. And then the 5th one, this might be the most controversial, the most difficult one. Are you ready for this one? Number 5?
I'm ready.
Contact your plan administrator or financial institution. Literally pick up the phone or send an email, reach out to your financial advisor or the person in HR that helps administer your 401k, like whatever it might be, and ask them directly, what is it? What are my fees? And ask them to not just tell you, but provide documentation.
Yep.
Can you send me the prospectus? Can you send me this? Can you highlight where the fee is found within this? I need answers. Better give me answers. Make sure it's in writing and you keep that so then you can fact check it, make sure it's right.
Yeah. I mean, again, as I talk to countless people, they're like, oh, I don't even know my login. I've never logged in before. And it just comes out of the check. Or they've never asked the questions of anybody, or even if they have something in place, they don't even know how to see if it's theirs, what the match is, any of that crazy stuff. And so it's just being made aware and having the tools, just like you would with any kind of other account that you can access, especially ones that have lots of money that you're contributing to regularly.
Yes. I was also talking to somebody recently who's retiring, and they're in the midst of figuring out, okay, now how do I take this money and what do I do with it? Let me get answers. And they have been finding just how opaque and non-transparent all these things are, especially at this phase. And it's not like they're like 80 years old and retiring. They're in their 50s and they're retiring early, and they're realizing like, wow, I didn't realize how much I wasn't being told and how much the information I need is hard to find.
Yep. Or I've had one client that was literally their social security was mismatched somehow. And
Social security number on their 401k.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they were contributing for a long time, didn't find out for a while that it was somebody else.
Going to somebody else.
Yeah. And I'm like, how did that happen?
Right.
And so that's why you want to be able to access and look at your own stuff, because you should care more about your financial future than
anybody,
even us, right?
Yeah. We're also going to put a link to a Department of Labor resource that goes through a look at 401k plan fees, because there's some specific things related to 401ks that are a little different than IRAs or brokerages that you're going to want to look in if you're trying to find the fees of your 401k. Again, Department of Labor resource. We think everybody should check it out if you've got a 401k. Yep. Okay. Ready to start doing some math? Actually, before we look at the math, one more thing. Part of why I said have your person highlight or point you to where you can find things is often these account statements, these prospectuses, these websites, there's a lot of information there, and it's really hard to find what you're looking for. So don't give up when you get to that point, right? And you're trying to look for your fees. Keep going until you find them. They're hidden for a reason. They don't want you to know what they are, or they want to make it more difficult. So find out where they are, find out how to check them regularly, and check in on them at least once a year.
And here's the thing that really gets me is when people on the other side of the fence, right? Those people in the 401k world.
Can we come back to this? This is good. This is really good. We're gonna come back to this when we get in a minute, because I want you to see the math. I don't want you to leave and not get to the math.
Okay.
Okay. The thing that really gets Brandon, because he's gonna go on a rant, and I want you to know this. Okay, so let me start writing some math on the board. Okay, so here we go.
Now, if you're listening on the podcast, we're going to try and say all the stuff that we're writing. But if you're on YouTube, you're going to see a bunch of fun videos. And if you're listening on the podcast and you want to go back and watch the video, totally do that too.
Yeah. Okay. So remember that stat we shared earlier that fees, a 1% fee could devour, was it 38% of your retirement savings after 35 years? When we fact checked that math, we saw they were looking at 100,000 that's just left over 35 years in an investment earning 7%. And there's no more contributions to it. Now, I don't know anybody who just puts 100,000 there and doesn't touch it for 35 years. We use our money, we add more to it, we take out it, like it's a thing. So very unrealistic. Instead, what I did was I imagined, let's say you're a 25-year-old, okay? And you are going to save, let's say you're going to max out or close to max out your 401k every year. You're going to set aside $20,000. Maybe you make 100, you're saving 20% for your financial future. And let's just, so per year.
That's
for
pretty good.
35 years.
That's a amazing 20.
25-year-old. Yeah,
Yeah, they're
100%.
amazing.
They're doing great. Yeah. So if you got a 7% rate of return every year, right, for those 35 years with no fees, how much do you have at the end of 35 years? I'm going to round here.
Okay.
You have 2.96 million. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anybody
that's
with a financial calculator could look that up.
Yeah.
Done. Easy. Now, what if you add fees? What if you had a 1% fee per year? So we're doing the same 7% rate of return, 7, plus a 1% fee, or really this should say minus a 1% fee.
Yes.
What do you have after the 35 years? What is the end result there?
Less than 296 million.
Yeah, 2.96. Yeah.
2.96 million.
It is now 2.33 million. That's $630,000 less.
Now, Amanda did make an Excel sheet that we figured, hey, you know, we could show the Excel sheet and all of it year by year to see it. However, we figured, hey, people want to see the overarching numbers, not the spreadsheet. But if you want to see the spreadsheet, schedule a discovery call. We're happy to share it.
Yeah, happy to share it. The difference here though is a 27.18%. So not exactly the 38 that the other people found, just with the 100,000 for 35 years, no touching it, but pretty close, right? Like that's still a lot. And how much were those fees? The total fees were 632,000. I want to be that fund, that financial institution, that advisor, you know, that are mixing and taking all those fees.
632,000.
Oh wait, sorry, no, that's wrong. Let me erase that. That's the difference, that not the total fees, right? We talked about that.
Okay.
The fees are less because there's some, you know, there's compounding going on here. The fees were actually, you ready for this?
Okay.
293K still.
Okay.
So you lost 600. Some of that is the compounding that you lost. 293 is what the financial people got. Firms, funds, all that. Now, the crazy thing about this is we all know the market does not do 7% every single year. It goes up, it goes down, it goes sideways, it's all over the place. So what I did is take the S&P 500 with dividends every year from 2000 to 2023. So we're in 2024. So I went all 24 years there and I put it in and then I repeated it again. So I could get 35 years worth of things. And the average, so we'll call this the S&P with dividends, and the average rate of return.
Which is what people say, average.
Yep, 6.75%. So it's all over the place, up, down, sideways. But the average was 6.75. So we only went down 0.25 average.
Yeah.
Right? Kept the same 1% fee, right?
Yep.
How much do we have at the end of 35 years? You ready for this?
So we went down 0.25%.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, average.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And of course, you know, there's the negative 37 in 2008. There's the .com crash in there a little bit, but there's also
amazing years.
There's the plus 32%, plus 26% in other years, right? An average, right? It's still really great.
Yeah.
Here's the end result. Ready for this?
Okay.
Whoops, 8.4. That's 1.84 million. That's 490,000 less than the 1% fee. It's 1.1 million less than the first one, right?
How is that possible? So
So between these two numbers we
Yep.
went down 26.7%.
What, I mean, it's not that big of a difference between 7 and 6.75.
Right. That's we have the hidden fees, right?
Mhm.
That are devouring, but also the volatility devours. And okay, you ready for this? This is the part that totally shocked me. I did not expect this.
And you do this, and you're a CFP, so you've
I checked my math, I double checked my math, I triple checked my math. I was like, this can't be right.
okay.
I was totally surprised. You would think the fees are less, right? You have a lower rate of return, you have the same fee, you're ending up with a less amount. But guess what? The total fees, 301,553. So 301K, 0.5K. So
Yep.
302K, rounding up. That's
7 or 8,000, right? Difference.
the yeah, like 8,000, 8 to 9,000 more that the advisor made, the financial institution made, the fund made, combined, even though you have way less.
Why is that? I mean, again,
I know.
if you're just listening on podcast, go back and watch the video because you want to see this. But I don't understand it.
Right. They keep taking the fees in the big years, right?
Okay.
And the 1% and when it gets a 20%, right? Their 20% increase, their fee is bigger.
Yep.
When it gets a negative decrease, their fee is smaller, but it works out to be still more overall.
Wow. So they win either way.
Yeah.
I mean, they win better.
Yeah, in this example, this might not always be true. I could put in different volatility factor, right, numbers and see, but in this example, it was totally true.
Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to get out of this nonsense?
I mean, I still like, 1.84 million is a good number.
Yeah.
But could it be better?
Well, that's a great question. So let's say 25-year-old, same 20,000, same 35 years. But what if they put it into an annuity? But annuities charge so many fees, and the commissions for the person that sold them is so high. How many times have we heard that, right?
Oh, I've heard that so many times, and how evil of a person I am because of the fees.
Right. Well, there are 19 different kinds of annuities, right? That might be true for some of them. But I looked at one kind of annuity that we love, and there's currently no fees on that annuity. Again, that could change, but no fees currently. And the commission is paid not from the person's money that they're putting in, not from this 20,000, here. The commission is paid by the annuity company.
Yeah.
Right. So that 20,000 is still there, never deducted from, unless they, change the fees. And what I found when I took the same volatility, right? I took the S&P 500, but the negative years, we stayed at 0 because it doesn't, that's one of the advantages of annuities. You don't lose money when the market's down. And then I cut the upper years in half. Okay. So we just changed that, those two parameters. So it's not a real annuity. It's just a math exercise just for fun. See what would happen.
Yep.
Okay. So an annuity sample, we'll call it. What that yielded, no fees, half, the average rate of return for this one was 5.98.
That's less.
Yeah, got a lower rate of return, but again, we have no fees.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think the result was at the end of 35 years, 20,000 going in, no 0 years? We cut out the lower volatility, but we halved the top volatility. You ready for this?
So we didn't make as much on the top end, but we didn't lose anything.
2.5 million was the net result.
So
it's like 2,465,000, 2.5 million.
So it's better than the with the fees.
With the fees. Yep.
Yep.
And that's just a sample,
Yeah.
you know, compare your actual results. And then, but the big thing that made that difference was there are no negative years.
Yeah.
Right? Being able to protect yourself from those negative years can make a big difference. But wait, there's more. We're going to stop screen sharing and we're going to show you one more thing, or talk about one more thing that a lot of people don't consider. Now, what if this 25-year-old, instead or of, you know, putting the full 25 million in, or 25,000 per year for 35 years into a market-based 20,000,
Yeah.
sorry, for 35 years. What if this 25-year-old, instead of putting in a market-based place where there's fees and volatility, or putting into an annuity where they can't touch it
Yep.
still until they're 59 and a half, right? And they let it cook for 35 years in this example. What if they did something slightly different? What if they put some or all of this into a bank on yourself type whole life policy with high cash value, dividend paying, right? All those bells and whistles in there. Could that be the glow up this 25-year-old's waiting for, right? Well, what about the cost?
Yeah, and I wonder if like some of that cost, people will ask us all the time, oh yeah, you don't want to do that because it's going to cost you too much. It's going to be this or that. Look at all this. And I like to question, what about the cost of not doing it? What about the cost of the other side? I don't know.
Yeah, but also if we get to the detailed math, all the costs are disclosed up front.
Yep, yep.
And they're crystal clear.
Yeah.
Right, like there's no changing of the costs. They're locked in. So, and they can't be changed without your permission. You're not going to give permission for the cost to go up, right? And when we've done the math and looked at what the actual bank on yourself professional gets paid over that 35 years, it's a 1/10 of what the money manager makes, right? Or the fund, the institution, right? All those things. And who pays that? Who pays the commission on a life insurance policy?
The insurance company.
Yeah, it doesn't come out of the person's account. It comes from the insurance company, from their general fund, right? Like, it's part of the cost of them doing business. Plus, there are these like guarantees backed up by that life insurance company that you can know that guarantee at every single point, and then you can see the dividends on top of that. No more financial FOMO. Am I missing out? But wait, there's even more. Okay, so let's say I actually pulled these numbers for the 25-year-old putting in 20,000 a year-ish. Actually, the numbers went down a little bit because we're avoiding the MEC limit, you know, things like that on the policy. If you follow up with me if you want more, you want to actually see the numbers and what that looks like. So they put in less money.
Yep.
And they still got 1.5 million, which if you remember from these numbers, right, that's the lowest of all these numbers. 1.5 million, the net result at the end, roughly 1.5, 1.6. I forget exactly. But here's the thing. Did they lock this money up?
No, they still had access to it.
They still had access.
Like at a low interest if they borrowed.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. They can borrow from their policy at a super low interest anytime, no penalties, no taxes due, right? All those things. Remind me to come back to taxes. So they do this and they're able to not go into credit card debt, save 29% interest going to somewhere else.
Yep.
They're able to maybe buy a home, get a good mortgage rate, save a couple points of interest maybe on their mortgage by doing a nice down payment. They're able to maybe when that negative 37% happened to that other 25-year-old, they're able to take money out of their policy loan and go buy stocks at that point and get the 26% that happened the next year.
Right.
Right? Like they're able to make up that difference in different ways. And they're not like it's all tax advantage and all that stuff too.
Yeah, I think the tax advantaged is a big deal too, is people don't realize how taxes are going to affect that growth in their accounts, right? Whether it's a 401k or not, doesn't matter. But taxes are a big wealth killer. And so we want to like make sure we are at a young age starting to see how all of these things interplay with each other. And knowing who you are as an investor and as a person and what your goals are, right? That's the point of even us doing a full financial analysis and not taking all of it and saying, oh, it should all go into a life insurance policy or all go into an annuity. We would never say that. But like, how do we best position it to where you are paying less, right? And not paying all the fees, again, I want to get paid. I want to make sure I'm compensated, but I also hate when people are like, yeah, but those insurance company people, they're just all out to make money. And I'm like, who's calling the kettle black here?
Right. So this is actually a really smart play on people's psychology. I promise we're going to wrap up soon. But have you ever noticed how when somebody is doing something they want to hide, they point it out in other people? We do this individually, right? If somebody is, I don't know, cheating on their spouse, they'll point out other people cheating on their spouses, right? We point the finger at others to try to hide even more, right? If I distract them, politicians are really good at this, not to get political, but they're really good at this. And we have to be aware of that. What we're seeing is when we maybe like, this is something to consider. Whenever somebody says those other people, they're getting paid too much, they're stealing your money, they're getting high commissions, are they trying to hide what they're really doing? And how can you look into it to confirm what's actually going on, who's paying what, like be on the search for the truth there. And sure, this 25-year-old, if he, or she was to be our client, we probably wouldn't tell them put all 20,000 that you're going to save for your future in one place.
No.
Put a little bit here, a little bit there, like let's figure it all out. And that's when like you're working with somebody that's not just looking out for their own interest, but for yours.
Yeah. And I think that's the key and why we are putting this out there for you, right? Because really it is, again, you're in control of your own financial future. It's not some president, some whatever running next year or 5 years from now. It doesn't matter. Like, you're responsible for that, and making sure that you know how to read bank statements and other statements. I think that's important. Don't just give it to somebody else. And that's part of why I wrote the book, from moving from chaos to still, which is, again, a big thing that we think about a lot, is like, don't just be in chaos.
Okay, we're going to summarize, but first we're going to help make sure you know how to get in touch with us. Slide into our DMs. No, just kidding. Do this.
Ready to take the next step towards securing your financial future? Whether you're planning for retirement, saving for your dream home, or you just want to make your money work harder for you, the team at Wealth Wisdom Financial are ready to assist you. And now, it's easier than ever to see how we might give you a boost on your financial journey.
Schedule a 15-minute discovery call with one of us today.
And let's discuss your questions and your financial goals together.
Don't wait any longer. Your financial freedom awaits. Schedule your discovery call at www.wealthwisdomfp.com/call.
Okay, Amanda. So sliding into the DMs, I don't know, maybe I'm too old for that.
You are too old, yeah.
Yeah, don't slide into my DM. Give me a phone call.
Yes, we'll give you a free strategy sesh.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, in case you missed it, here's the summary. Fees could gobble up a lot of your retirement. Volatility makes other people more potentially than it makes you. It can destroy your nest egg.
Yep.
There are alternatives. Don't believe all the hype and marketing that you see. Can't believe everything you read on the internet, right? We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. Actually, our next episode, we're going to take this hyper focus on fees. We're going to blow it up. Should you really be paying attention to the little things?
Yeah.
Should you stop buying lattes to become a millionaire? Join us next time. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell.
Do all the things.
All the things.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching. And remember, the topics presented in this podcast are for general information only and not for the purpose of providing legal, accounting, or investment advice. Please do your own math. Don't just depend on it from me or somebody else.
And consult a professional who can help you do the math and knows your specific situation. Live long and profit.